Skye Squad, we are in the building. Okay, as you guys can see, we're actually in a different building, right? So I am here in New York City for an event for Bravo TV. I'm super excited about it. I will let you guys know exactly what it is today. Okay, so I'm actually filming this video after watching the episode of Basketball Wives on Monday night. This review will be out on Tuesday. So as you're seeing this today, the event for Bravo is actually today. And we'll talk about it a little bit more after I attend the event. But with that being said, we got to talk about Basketball Wives Season 10, Episode 3, okay? So to break it on down, we really got to just discuss the elephant in the room. And that elephant is the reason for the Brandi and Malaysia beef. And I think we all probably felt like this was the reason, or we all felt like this was coming. And I felt like everybody was tiptoeing and tap dancing and punani popping around what the actual issue was between these two ladies, because I don't think any of us were just buying that it was this whole thing about Malaysia not contacting Brandi after her dad's passing, and that Malaysia was just somehow over the friendship. Even though we all know that friendships can go through their different stages, and sometimes you just outgrow friendships. I definitely understand that, okay? And we've talked about that previously on this channel as well. But as Duffy also stated, there had to be something deeper going on here with this friendship and the demise of the friendship. And I think we all saw the writing on the wall when it happened, okay? This all stems from, and Malaysia aired it all out tonight, okay? I think it was literally tonight, she just had a moment where the straw just broke the camel's back and she did not hold back any longer. And she finally revealed the reason that she thinks that their relationship came to a halt was because of when Shawnee gave Brandi the get on and thank you for your services after Brandi called her a bitch seasons ago. And then from that point, the relationship was never really the same with Brandi when she got back on the show. Remember when she came back on the show, they had the whole meeting with Shawnee. We got a flashback of that. And I believe this was also maybe the season that Duffy had joined in as well. And you guys will recall, really, there was the big drama that occurred between Duffy and Tammy, okay? But during that season's reunion, Tammy also had a lot of words with not only Duffy, but also Brandi as well, furthering the rift between Brandi and the OGs, okay? I don't know if you guys recall, Brandi and Shawnee ended up on okay terms, but by the time the season officially ended and the reunion came, it was Tammy that really had a lot of issues with Brandi at that point, as well as Duffy, because Tammy had previously said she didn't want to be around Duffy no more. So going into the next season, Tammy really didn't want to have anything to do with Brandi, as far as I can remember, going so far as for it to be that when Malaysia did try to bring Brandi around, Shawnee, Tammy, and Evelyn all got up in solidarity together because Tammy did not want to film with Brandi, and they all got up together. And I still don't think that Shawnee was at that point feeling Brandi either. And I think that Evelyn was just showing loyalty to her homegirls, and they all walked out together when Brandi showed up to the scene, and Malaysia tried to get them all to film together, and they just paid Brandi dust. I think from that point forward, it was never going to be the same between Malaysia and Brandi, because Malaysia continued on the show, even though she herself was a bit isolated. Because I think if you guys recall, when Tammy and Malaysia actually ended up getting into it later that season, Evelyn also stated something to the effect that the reason why she was there because she thought that Malaysia was not going to be there. So I'm wondering if now looking back on it, like Brandy and on some level may have felt some type of way about the fact that Malaysia continued to stay on the show and film with the women while she wasn't able to really do so because they had shunned her. I don't really know, but basically that is the reason that Malaysia believes that there is this big, ginormous gap in their friendship. Not to mention the fact that we also find out in this episode that Zelle and Brandy actually knew each other before Malaysia and Zelle did, which I find very interesting, but not so interesting because I had been in when I was in LA, I had heard about Zelle Swag because I knew that he was a stylist. So, you know, you just hear people's names and you know, like, oh, this person's a stylist, this person does this. And so that's how you kind of know people, right? Did not know him personally, but I had heard his name before. So I knew that he was a stylist. So when Brandy mentioned that, she also stated that they had a falling out. And what we did not get from Brandy was the fact that she had allegedly been DMing him after their falling out once she had gotten back to LA, asking him to come and see her kitchen, which is also interesting. So for Malaysia, a lot of what's going on is her seeing Brandy and feeling like a lot of this is for show because she says that Brandy has been sitting at home in her basement for 4 years, for 4 years, upset and mad at Malaysia for continuing on with her job and getting her coin because she is there to support her family, okay? Now, we're going to get into this in a little bit more detail in a bit, but that's really the jumping off point for the news portion of this episode because I feel like in order for us to talk about this episode, let's go ahead and get to the meat and potatoes of exactly what is going on. And now I want to get into the episode itself. If you happen to see the episode, let me know in the chatterization what you would rate the episode on a scale of 1 through 10. I personally am going to give this episode a 9, mostly because we finally get this reveal. Otherwise, the episode was kind of light on content, and I just kind of felt like this was more of an introduction to the problems that British is dealing with in this episode. And we also get some more background on what Jennifer is going through in this episode as well. And then we had the drama with Zelle and Jennifer as well. And then the big blow up between Brandy and Malaysia. So I felt like the latter half of the episode makes up for some of the lighter stuff that happened in the episode that really didn't, I mean, you know, it made the episode an episode, right? But it didn't really like shift the narrative forward a lot as much as what happened at the end did and that big reveal. So that's why I give it a 9. Otherwise, if we did not have that reveal, I would have given it a 7. Okay. Now, with that out of the way, just a little bit about what's going on in this episode. Angel Brinks is at her store. We learn that she's designing for the WNBA. Jackie comes by to visit. Rockstar pops up with a whole bunch of flowers and whatnot, and Jackie tries to speak some life into their situation, okay? Then we see British with her mom, who brings her daughter, and then we learn that Lorenzo is back in St. Louis. Now, Lorenzo was her ex-fiance, but the father of her child, Dash, okay? We learned that, you know, she's been trying to move on with her life, but Lorenzo has harassed the last person that she dated, allegedly, okay? But he's been with a whole bunch of different women, and he calls to basically say that he's coming towards the end of the week to come spend some time with their daughter. And she's like, well, do you need me to get you a hotel or anything like that? He was like, well, yeah, I'll stay anywhere that you're paying for. And that's a red flag for me, number one. Because what we get in this episode is a lot of information about Lorenzo and how he kind of moving allegedly, okay? And the fact that he's asking her to pay for the room, or he's like okay with her paying for the room, I don't even really like that type of insinuation, even if it's just a joke. Because to me, what I feel that I get from him is I feel like I get this slightly immature vibe from him. And I think that what British needs at this point in time is a full-fledged man that's there to take care of responsibilities, and not somebody that's still joking about crazy stuff like that. Because I just feel I'm not trying to disrespect this man, but what I am saying is, a real G of a man is gonna make sure he taking care of his responsibilities, and he ain't gonna never put his woman in a situation or his baby mama in a situation where she gotta even think that he is serious about her paying for his place to stay when he's coming to visit his own daughter. Like, that to me was just a little bit insane. Not to mention the story that we're gonna hear about him in a little bit. That also was another red flag, outside of the obvious red flags of the things that is actually wrong with their relationship. But anyway, moving on. Duffy, British, Jackie and Brandy meet up. Duffy wants to play matchmaker. She wants to do this whole meat market mixer for her single friends. British says she and Lorenzo are done, but Jackie wants to see her with Lorenzo. So she's gonna make a plan to bring Lorenzo to the meat market mixer, which is definitely gonna be a mistake, okay? So we learned that Malaysia has flown back to Atlanta to get her kids, and then flown back to LA to bring them back with her to stay in the 2-bedroom apartment, okay? Now, I emphasize this 2-bedroom apartment situation mostly because we know that, there are multiple kids that she has staying with her. And she's trying to get out of this 2-bedroom apartment, which is probably, in my opinion, something that production provides for some of the ladies that live out of town that need to come back in town to film. But we have already determined that happens on a lot of these VH1 shows, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. But ultimately, we do see that she has an 8,000 square foot mansion in Atlanta. So she is trying to get adjusted to now living in such a small space in LA in order to film this show. But she wants to have her kids with her because she is determined for some reason not to make this man pay child support, which I still don't understand, girl. You could be lightening your own load, but instead you want to, can somebody in the chat let me know in the comment section, is it a pride thing for a woman to not have to go to the court to ask for what they're rightly due for their children? I really don't understand that. To me, it doesn't make any sense, because I just kind of feel like you are owed this money, because this money is going to support the needs of your children. It's not going to support your shopping needs. I mean, this is going to support the kids that you guys created together. So to me, if a court has to mandate that you do what you need to do, then that's what needs to happen. And it doesn't matter to me if you resent me for it, because you should want to do that in the first place, because they are your kids, okay? And I just think this is what men should be doing. And the definition of a real man is someone, in my opinion, who takes care of their responsibilities, okay? That's the definition of a real man. It ain't got nothing to do with masculinity. It ain't got nothing to do with all of these other preconceived notions. A man is a person who takes care of their responsibilities. That's the definition to me of a real man, okay? So that's just what I got to say about that, okay? She does get a visit from her sister, who tries to speak some life into her situation, but Malaysia's still going through and through. Jennifer, Angel, and Jack can go see a pet medium because Jennifer has lost her dog, Gia, who she's had for 17 years. And I do have to say that it's probably a very sad thing, because if you've had a child, a pet can become not really I'm not going to put them on the level of a child, but what I will say is a pet becomes a companion to people. And I can definitely see, if she's been going through all of these things and she's had her companion, her child, which could be her child, you know what I'm saying? Not in the sense that it's a physical child, because I'm not trying to equate the two, but y'all know what I'm saying. A pet can become a special type of companion for people. And given everything that she has been through, I can understand why she's so upset by the loss. So they go visit this pet medium. And Angel can definitely identify with the situation, because not only has Jennifer lost her mom, but she's also lost the dog. So now Angel is there and she's like, well, you know, I've been through this because she has lost her husband. So she definitely understands what the idea of loss is and how to maneuver through it. And I honestly think that personally, just a conversation with Angel would have been a better representation of this concept of moving through grief and loss. I think that would have been more powerful, because I think that the story in and of itself of Angel losing her husband is probably more something that Jennifer could relate to than this pet medium. But the fact that the pet medium also could get in contact with her mama as well and tell her she's about to get a ring and is giving her some type of hope. Listen, whatever floats your boat, I don't have no judgment on it. I have never been to a medium before, but I feel like this, in life, do what makes you happy. And if that makes you happy, I'm all the way here for it. Okay. All the way here for it. I know somebody who has those special abilities as well. I don't know if you guys know Boots Durango, but, listen, it's some powerful stuff for the people who have that gift and possess that spirit that can tap into other spirits and tap into other spiritual planes. Listen, I am here for it. Okay. Meanwhile, British is out with her daughter. Lorenzo stops by and she wants to improve their co-parenting relationship. He's on board. And this is one of those things that just is like, yeah, like this is exactly what I'm talking about. He's talking about, oh, you know, we need to be on a better path no matter who I'm piping down or who's D'ing you down. And it's like, who even talking like that? Like, I mean, it just feels like he's still in his 20s or something like that. And I don't know how old this man is, but I feel like he should be at an age where is that how we talking about what we do as adults, as grown folk? I just don't get that. I'm just maybe I'm on a different page in life or whatever. But even how he talk, it does to me. It just sounds like he has some growing to do. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want anybody around his daughter that she's not serious about, but apparently he can bring around anybody who he wants to, because she says that he's been bringing multiple women around. So there's that whole situation. And he thinks that she'll be coming back to him soon enough. All right. Brooke and Jackie take Jennifer for a V-Steam spa appointment to tighten her vajayjay in preparation for the meat market. It's interesting. I mean, this looks like an activity that you can do with your girlfriends, you know, get your V-steamed and, you know, have some cocktails and feel pleasurized. I'm all for that. You know, that and get yourself some vibrating panties while you're at it too. Call Candy. Okay. Call Candy. Anyway, Malaysia is out with Zelle looking for a location for the pop-up shop. He asks about the whole Brandy situation. Malaysia feels like people just want to F with her because they know she'll pop off. Apparently, Zelle and Brandy were cool and had a falling out, but we learned that she has been DMing him since she got back to LA, and Malaysia doesn't like the way that Brandy is moving, but she'll deal with that later. Now, everybody arrives to the meat market. British then lets everybody know that apparently the last girl that Lorenzo has been messing around with, they are in a domestic partnership in the state of California, but he's in St. Louis, so I don't understand how that's working out. But apparently, the girl contacted British, and for some reason about him not signing some paperwork, because they are in the domestic partnership in the state of California, and she has put him on her insurance. Now that's the other red flag. Not just the fact that you in this domestic partnership, but you getting put on her insurance. I'm just go ahead and say it because I don't have the mental capacity to be politically correct in this moment as I typically try to be. This man must got some good D for these women. That must be it. I mean, because you putting this man on your insurance, British done dealt with all kinds of drama with this man. How you in a domestic partnership with somebody that don't even live in the same state with you? I don't understand that. Somebody help me out with it, okay? Jackie doesn't believe that he's in a domestic partnership, and it don't matter anyway because Jackie has brought this man there for her, and it's not going to work out. Angel and Rockstar arrive. Nia and Naria arrive. Nia is looking for a man. We know that Naria is married already, so she not looking up for nobody. Jackie confesses to Brooke and Jennifer that she invited Lorenzo. So the guys start to arrive, and you know Jennifer's not really feeling any of them until Jelani from Compton walks in, who was apparently a friend of Brooke's. Okay, and for Jennifer, he looked like he got the health insurance, so she down with it. And if the watch real, she gonna be into it as well. Okay. He runs a couple of internet businesses, which means he got some internet coins. So listen, to me, he looked like a viable candidate. But it's starting to be a lot of crossover with Love and Hip Hop Hollywood and Basketball Wives, because not only do you have Zelle also coming to the event and filming for the show, you got Rockstar, who is from Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, and you got that long-haired, I think he's a white guy, from Love and Hip Hop Hollywood as well. So, I mean, if we're gonna get all this crossover, we might as well just get Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, or maybe we can just call this Love and Basketball Wives. Bam, there you go. Love and Basketball Wives. And now we can just have a whole ponderosa with everybody, okay? Meanwhile, Lorenzo walks in. Jennifer asks Lorenzo a question. Are you in love with British? And he's like, I have love for her. Another red flag. Jackie speaks up for him and says, well, they've been around the world together. And Lorenzo says, yes, girl, I practically raised you. And she has to like set him straight. Like, bro, you ain't even know who you was before you met me, okay? How you talking about you raised me? You can't even raise your daughter, okay? Let's talk about that. She basically lets him know that she's not the same 21-year-old she was when they first met, and she could do for herself now, and she don't need him and for him to get to stepping. That's pretty much it. At that point, Malaysia walks in with Zelle. Brandy then gives us her version of her history with Zelle, but does not indicate that she has been DMing him in her confessional, okay? Brandy is over at Malaysia and Zelle and takes a seat in the meat market game, and Jennifer is already annoyed because Zelle sits down in the guy's seat where the guys are being interrogated for the meat market. Now, they keep encouraging Jennifer to ask him some questions, and Jennifer is like, I don't do broke or whatever. So they are trying to get her to put the phone down, and Zelle says, well, I don't think she's going to have any questions for me because she has me blocked on Instagram. So everybody's like, well, why are you blocked on Instagram? And he's like, because I told her breath stinks. And then we get a flashback of that scene where he says that her breath stinks. And then he apologizes because, well, if you got your teeth fixed and everything, I mean, I apologize because your breath probably don't stink no more or whatever. So at that point, Jen says, we're good. And the whole thing just turns very awkward. Malaysia and Jackie go get a drink. British asks Malaysia if she was being shady. And Brandy says Malaysia knew what she was doing by inviting Zelle to the event. Do you think that Malaysia was inviting Zelle to be messy to the event? Or do you think that she was just inviting Zelle to have sort of a friend on her side? Because it kind of feels like it's kind of like Malaysia and she only really kind of has Jackie by her side. So I don't know. I don't know how I would feel walking into these situations where I know that I'm not really cool with the majority of the people there, and I would want some type of backup with me as well. But on the flip side, Malaysia still looks like Malaysia can handle herself because she walks right over to Jennifer and lets her know she did not bring Zelle over there for her or whatever. She didn't even bring him for the group at all. And then Brandi is like, girl, you knew exactly what you was doing. And Malaysia's like, stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. And so Brandi gets up and they got to, you know, break them apart or whatever. Jackie takes Malaysia off to the side and somehow Brandi ends up over there. And it's like, you knew what you were doing. And Malaysia is still like, stop talking to me. If you were my friend, yada, yada, yada. Brandi's like, we're not friends. And then they get to putting the fingers in the face, the hands in the face. They get to pulling Brandi back, okay? And it's just starting to go all the way left. They get so into it that Duffy ends up having to go talk to Malaysia. And that's when Malaysia really reveals that the whole thing that's going down is because Brandi is still mad that Malaysia kept her job after Brandi was fired. Okay, pretty much that's it. And Duffy is like, well, I knew that there had to be a deeper reason, but I didn't know it was this deep. And so then Malaysia's like, see, that's why I didn't even want to come to this event because, you know, I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want to be fighting with her or whatever. And so Brandi's like, cut the cameras. We could take this outside. And Malaysia's like, let's take it outside then. In this situation, I'm going to say that I am at the current moment. Listen, I've always wanted Brandi back on the show, but I'm going to have to say that I'm Team Malaysia at this moment. And I know that that may not be the popular approach, but to be honest with you, I feel like she didn't do the wrong thing by keeping her job and continuing to work. Even though Malaysia, I feel like at that point in time, she was on an island by herself when she was trying to convince the group to still film with Brandi. I feel like they really ostracized Malaysia for quite some time, and I feel like she's back in that same position. And the irony is she was ostracized for sticking up for Brandi, and now she's being ostracized now that Brandi is back. So I'm always going to be team underdog in these types of situations because I just don't feel like I like the gang up mentality. But anyway, so far it's not really a gang up. So far it's just Brandi versus Malaysia, and it's heating up. So we'll see where it goes next week. But that's it for this review. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell button, and I will catch you in the next video.